Hi everyone, today we are going to be building on our lesson from our previous lesson around finding the height. So we weren't given the height, but we still used this formula and we had to solve for h. Today's essential question is looking for the radius. So it's similar in that they will give you the volume and the dimension that they will give us is the height. And we know about pi, so we're just going to have to solve for the radius. So instead of isolating for h, we're going to isolate the variable for r instead. So our first example that we will be looking at today starts with a cylinder that is slanted, but I'm not going to draw it slanted just because I have a hard time drawing those ones. So let's just look at a right one. Right. We have a cylinder, and our cylinder here has a radius that is unknown. So we don't know the radius. Our height, though, is 8 feet. Okay, so we're still going to use the same formula of the volume equaling the area of the base times the height, or volume equals pi r squared times the height. So we don't know what r is. That is our job. Our job is going to be to isolate or move things around so that we could solve for r. So let's plug in what we do know. They also told us that the volume of this cylinder is 226 feet cubed. So that is the information we have. Let's go ahead and plug in what we know. So here's our volume. Our volume is 226. We know pi, so we know that pi is 3.14. We do not know r, or r squared, and the height. Our height here is 8 feet. So we're going to go ahead and solve using the information that we can. Okay, so let's go ahead and multiply and combine the things or simplify on one side so that we can get this r all by itself. So we're going to move things around and multiply 3.14 and 8. So 3.14 times 8. That is going to give us, so when we multiply those two things, that is going to give us 25.12 times r squared. We're going to divide by 25.12 and divide by 25.12. This gives us r squared. And so now we're ready to divide. So 226 divided by 25.12, that's going to give us a grand total of, wow, a really big number. So what we're going to do is we are going to want to simplify this down. So let's go ahead and round this to about 9, the nearest whole number. And so we'll round this to 9. And r squared, we're going to need to find the square root. So r times r, we just want one r here, right? So we're going to say the square root of 9 equals r squared. And so 3 equals 1 r. So our our radius is 3. Okay, so getting down to this point here where you are finding the square root is going to be where we're going to need to round. So again, we had this number here of 8.99 whatever. We just round it to the nearest whole number, and then we're able to go from there. Okay, let's do another example. Get rid of my calculator there. All right. So this example that we are looking at now, example number 2. Let's find that. Example number 2. Okay, example B. Example B gives us a cylinder that is kind of shorter. And it has a radius that's also unknown, but it has a height of 3 centimeters. So again, we're going to use volume equals the area of the base times the height. And we know that the volume of this, they tell us, is 236 centimeters cubed. All right, so let's plug in the things that we know so that we can solve for the things that we don't know. My dog is making so much noise right now. Okay, 236, so we get 236, and that is going to equal pi, or 3.14. We don't know r, so we're going to go ahead and leave that as r squared. And the height, we do know the height right there, and the height is a grand total of 3. So when we multiply all those numbers together, we should get the volume. So let's go ahead and solve for r. All right, so we're going to start out by multiplying 3.14 and 3. So let's go ahead and do that. 3.14 times 3, and that gives us 9.42 r times r squared. Again, we want to divide here, so divide by 9.42, divide by 9.42. Remember that pi is an approximation, so that's why we have to do a lot of rounding in these units. It's just because it's approximate. It doesn't have an ending number, and so it just goes on and on. So 236 divided by 9.42. See, and there we go. We're going to round to the nearest whole number here, which is 25. And so to get r squared, or just to get 1r, we're going to take the square root of 25. And the square root of 25 is 5, because 5 times 5 is 25. And that gives us a radius of 5. Or you could think of this as 5 times 5, r squared, 5 times 5. All right, so it's just that rounding piece right there that might trip us up just a little bit. So slow and steady there, and to think about, can that number be a square? Okay, let's go ahead and go on to our next and last final example for today before you do the try it. All right, in this example, you have a cylinder that has an unknown radius. It is kind of taller. So again, we're looking for r. The height is 12 meters. The volume is 1,356 meters cubed. And we are still using area of the base times the height. So when we look at this, we're looking at pi r squared times the height. So let's fill in what we know and leave what we don't know ready for isolation. So 1,356 is our volume. And we're going to multiply that by pi. So pi is 3.14. We don't know r, so we're going to go ahead and leave that as r squared. And then our height, which is right here, is 12. So we're going to multiply that by 12. Okay, let's go ahead and multiply the things together that we know. We are trying to get r by itself again. So 3.14 and 12 are what we're going to multiply together there. So let's pull our calculator out. And we will go 3.14 times 12. And that gives us 37.68. R squared. And again, we are isolating for r. So we're going to divide, because that's the opposite of multiplication. One-step, two-step equations here. And now we're ready to solve for r squared. So we have 1356 divided by 37 and 86/100. Oh my goodness. All right, we're going to round. The tenths tells us to round up to 36. 36 is our nearest whole number. And again, we want the square root of 36 is going to equal r. So r equals 6. Because here, 6 times 6 gives us 36. All right. It is your turn now for a try it. Hopefully you are ready for this. Again, remember, slow and steady on the rounding to the nearest whole number. All right, so here is your try it. The try it for today. Oops. Okay, again, radius is unknown. You have a cylinder, and your cylinder has a height of 4 meters, but it also has a volume of 28 meters cubed. All right, solve for r. Be a pirate. Okay, let's go ahead and plug in the things that we know. So volume is 28 times pi. Oh, remember to hit pause so you don't hear me solving, and then hit play when you're ready. 3.14. We have r squared, which is what we are looking for, and a height of 4. All right, we need to solve for the r. All right, we're going to combine 3.14 and 4. So 3.14 times 4, that gives me 12.56. R squared, that's going to equal 28. Again, we want r by itself, so we're going to divide. R squared. Okay, so r squared is going to equal 28 divided by 12.56 for a grand total of 2. That's weird. Okay, I pulled up the Desmos calculator so I can do the square root of 2. Because if I just did 1 times 1, that's going to give me 1. So this is going to end up being a number that has a decimal point in it. So we're going to find Desmos calculator square root of 2. And this is about 1.4, or we could round up. Well, yeah, we can just put about 1.4. So R equals 1.4 meters. Okay, that was kind of a weird one there, just with the Desmos calculator. I want to show you though, if we were to do like, it was 2.2. So if we did the square root of 2.22, that's going to give us 1.48, which you can round up to 1.5. So in that case, when we were looking at the first calculator of 2.2, we know that you can't, the square root of 2 is not something that is just, 2 by 2, right? So if you wanted to, you could, in this case, put in those decimal points after. It's not going to give you that big of a difference when you round. So there you go. All right, how did you do on your try it, and how are you doing on today's lesson? Go ahead and answer your essential question. How do we solve for the radius? What is it that we need to know? What is it that we need to do? And then go ahead and put your level of understanding out to the side. Where are you at with that? When you are finished, you can come on back to the Google Meet and ask for help, or you can go and do your practice work. As always, I appreciate all of your hard work and effort, and make it a great day.